This board is definitely going to change the way you look at the ocean and change the way of riding.
Let's not try to be surfers, let's do proper kitesurfing.
Hey everyone, thanks a lot for tuning into this designer talk. My name is Kevin Langeree and next to me is Damien Girardin. And at Girardin, I think one of our main things that we really enjoy to do, or what you really enjoy to do, is innovate new gear. And that's exactly what we're going to be talking about, because we're introducing to you now this board.
SNACKPACK.
We're calling it SNACKPACK. And dude, I love the way you always come up with new ideas, new products, and new ways of riding. And I personally think this board is definitely going to change the way you look at the ocean, change the way at how you ride the ocean, and change the way how you can optimize the way of riding. And I remember you telling me the first time about the idea of building a board like this. I couldn't get my head around it just yet, but now after a lot of sessions later, I completely understand why this idea came to mind. So Damien, SNACKPACK.
Yes.
How and what was the thought behind it? Why would you make a board looking like this?
It's it comes from just looking at the way we kite.
Yeah.
The way I kite. I want to be able to jump as high as I can when I go out, and I don't want to waste the waves coming in, So the idea is like, let's make a board. We can jump like a regular twin tip,
yeah,
and we can ride the waves like a regular wave board. Let's not try to be surfers. Let's do proper kite surfing. Both ways,
And would you claim that this is actually real kite surfing?
Well, look at my t-shirt. I think before I tried the board, I realized I had never properly kite surfed before.
Right, and this board is definitely letting you do that, right?
So that's real kite surfing too.
Yeah, and I completely agree with you.
I mean, now you look at the ocean different, right?
Yeah.
Every time I see a wave now, I'm also thinking, oh, that's potentially a kicker.
Yeah.
And every time I see a kicker, I'm like, oh, that's potentially a wave, because you can do a little switch turn, boom, and
that's such a cool, creative, different way of looking at the ocean, which I really enjoy, because with this board, there's almost no limitations of what you can literally do on the water with your kite, in the waves, out of the waves, and man, that thing it keeps blowing my mind. Yeah. Every time I ride this board, I find a new line or a new way of riding a wave or jumping off a wave or
comboing these two.
Or comboing it,
kiteloop, you land, or you do a jump, you land, boom, you switch, and you're riding a wave. It's
like
the other way around. You
like
get out of the wave,
game.
You jump right away.
Yeah.
You don't have to switch, go back to the shore and switch board.
You can all do it in one go. Hey Damien, SNACKPACK really, if I look at it like this, it really looks like a twin tip. But how in the world am I going to ride waves with that thing? Why would it work in the waves?
Well, it works in the wave because it has proper surf rails. That's very important. It has a outline also inspired from a surfboard, has a rocker inspired from a surfboard, but it's bidirectional like a twin tip. So it's really like the best of both worlds.
But then, okay, yeah, I do agree with you on that. But then if I look at it as a twin tip, it's a high volume board. How can you really edge on this board? Because people are going to ask, like, this is never going to edge like
it edged very well. I mean, look at a surfboard, look at surfers when they have big volume and they surf waves like Jaws, they have plenty grip to turn. So right. the idea that you need tiny rails to cut through the water to get more grip is actually not really that true, because once you've cut through the water, if you look at your rail, there's like one point that touches the water. And in this case, we still have it. We have a pretty sharp rail here in the back, but also you get grip from the bottom channel that is gripping to the water, and the whole overall surface area of the board. The board is pretty wide in the middle, but we have volume because then you can lean into it when you do a frontside or a backside turn, which benefits two things. You have the proper bottom turn, like I was explaining earlier, but you also have very comfy going upwind on your regular twin tip position. When you're just going upwind, it's more comfy, goes to the chop way softer, so you get upwind better. So it's actually better than the twin tip by going upwind.
Yeah, and that's completely right. It does, it does edge like a proper twin tip. So don't get scared by the higher volume board. It's just gonna, it's not gonna hold you back.
To get used,
of
right?
course, yeah.
Because it's but it's like jumping on a surfboard from a twin tip. You gotta get used to it.
Yeah.
So it's gonna be quicker actually than getting used to a surfboard.
Yeah.
So you get used to it, but your brain learns pretty quick. In like 10 minutes,
Yeah.
you're there, and then you don't even think twice again about how to grip on
Yeah,
that board.
I completely agree with you. Yeah, it does feel, at some point, it just feels natural.
We used to be on the twin tip. Kite surfers, we know how to ride these. We know how to switch stance right away. We know how to do little 180s, all that stuff. So now you ride a wave and you can do a 180 on top of your turn. You don't have to be one of the pros on their strapless board. They've been doing that 24/7 for the past 10 years to get to that level.
Yeah.
You get to that level very quickly because you're right at home on the board. So you're riding wave on a board that feels like you've always been on your whole life.
It feels very at home and easy, right?
Yeah.
We showed this board to a few people already, and some people were like, "Oh yeah, that looks like a shape of 20 years ago."
Yeah,
But
I
don't think I think you got inspired from it a little bit.
Of course, I mean, I've been kiting, and we counted the other day, 26 years, my first time kiting. So I've seen pretty much every board that's ever happened in the history of the sport. And there's definitely boards similar to that in the past. And I don't think they were right at the time.
Yeah.
And the whole industry has shifted towards twin tip, made out of a piece of wood pressed, because also it was easier to make, faster, but it works also really well to edge and get a big jump. And we've kind of lost the fun out of not just focusing on jumping.
Yeah.
So yes, there were boards like that before. I think they were very different, and I know from my experience now, it's 20 something years that I've been designing boards, surfboards, SUP boards, kite boards, kite surf boards. So I've learned a lot, and I know in this board, like everything that I know went into it to make it work.
Yeah.
And then turns out that it works. I mean, it edged really well. It's a little different feel than a regular twin tip. But in a matter of a few minutes, like maybe 10, 15, 20 minutes, you're used to it and your brain gets all the grip you need.
Yeah.
And you can jump just as good. You can edge just as good as on the twin tip. You go upwind better than the twin tip. And then the rays being inspired from a surfboard, they actually do a bottom turn and a top turn like a surfboard. So you have a lot of grip on your top turn. You have a lot of drive in your top turn. One of the questions that pops up sometimes, like why 3 fins in the tips? 3 fins allow for like very drivey turn on like proper waves. You're not always going to be riding proper big waves because it's super fun in small waves too. But
for downwinders and stuff,
downwinders,
like Dutch downwinders, where we get
exactly. I mean, you know better than me these conditions. It changes everything, right?
Yeah, that's definitely the board you want to ride in those kind of conditions.
So really, like, yes, they were similar boards, but no, it was not the same.
If you think about it, and we've both ridden it a lot, and every time I ride it, I become, you become better at utilizing the conditions even better. And if I look back now, we missed out on a lot of things. There was a lot of jumping that I missed out when I was riding my waveboard, and there was a lot of wave riding I missed out on when I was on my twin tip. And I think, now we're solving that problem. It feels like all of a sudden you're kite surfing twice as much.
You're actually properly kite surfing both ways now, right?
Yeah, because you're jumping and riding waves, and it's man, I'm really loving the work you've put into it and the idea you came up with, and hopefully it's going to let a lot of people ride more, kite surf more.
Well, and, 1 hour session becomes 1 hour of kiting now, not half hour of jumping if you're on the twin tip and half hour of coming in if you're on the twin tip, or the other way if you're on the waveboard, half an hour of going out and half an hour of riding waves.
Yeah,
now it's a whole 100%, hour of like the whole
100% kite surfing. Man, that's really exciting, and I'm glad you made it, and it's available. Is it available already?
It's available already. I'm not sure we're gonna have enough because the response so far has been so good, but we got cranking on the factory to make more.
Oh, that's a good sign. So if you're interested in a SNACKPACK, then go to your local kite shop. If you don't have a local kite shop around, don't worry, we got you covered. Go to Girardin.com. We've got plenty on stock. We do free shipping, and you're gonna enjoy a lot of the sessions on SNACKPACK. Thanks, Damien, for making us kite more.
Pleasure.
Later.